Hey everyone, I'm here on a beautiful summer day and I've got access to this BMW M5 from 2008. Now BMW made about 20,500 M5s of this generation, but they made very few with manual gearboxes, and this is one of them. And the manual gearbox vehicles were only sold in the North American market. My name is Richard Watto, and today we're going to take a look at this car and see what it's like. Now the M5 of this generation is really interesting for a variety of reasons. The first reason being the motor. Now typically the way BMW makes their M vehicles is they'll take an existing BMW motor, give it to their M division, who will soup it up and make it more performance oriented. They'll make it faster and more powerful. But in this case, BMW actually built a motor from scratch, and they didn't use a V6 or a V8 motor. They actually built a 5-liter V10 motor, which makes this BMW M5 the first production sedan in the world to come fitted with a V10 motor. And this motor wasn't just a novelty. It won several awards. In 2005, it won the International Engine of the Year award. It also won the award for Best Performance Engine, Best Engine over 4 liters, and Best New Engine. And it beat out the runner-up, Ferrari, by a whopping 100 points. This engine means business, and it's easy to see why. It puts out a whopping 500 horsepower and 383 pound-feet of torque, and it revs to a red line of 8,250 RPM, which means that this massive V10 motor can rev higher than most 4-cylinder engines. And it's also capable of catapulting this vehicle, which weighs 4,100 pounds, from 0 to 60 in only 4.2 seconds. It has a top speed of 170 miles an hour, and with a limiter off, it can go up to 204 miles an hour. Now, of course, M5s of this generation do have their issues. They weren't exactly the paradigm of reliability. M5s of this generation had issues with the rod bearings in their engines. They had problems with the clutches. They had problems with electrical gremlins. But of course, that's kind of expected when it comes to a BMW M5. These cars are high-performance vehicles, and they do need more care and repair than your average Honda Civic. These cars do require maintenance, and that maintenance isn't often cheap. And then there's the gas mileage. These things get about 11 miles per gallon in the city and 17 on the highway. Then again, BMW M5s have always been thirsty machines. And then finally there's the transmission. Now these things came with SMG transmissions. The automatic SMG transmissions that the BMW M5 came with were phenomenal. When it came to performance, they shifted very quickly. They got the car from 0 to 60 in 4.2 seconds. But that very same transmission, which was great when it came to performance, was sometimes finicky and jerky and awkward to drive in normal driving conditions. So naturally, the solution was to get a manual transmission. But the manual transmission vehicles are typically very hard to find, especially in good shape. The other issue with these vehicles was that in the early models, you couldn't turn the DSC off if you bought a manual transmission vehicle, which you could do with the automatic transmission versions. But in the 2008 versions, you are able to turn off the dynamic stability control, and so they are almost as fast as the SMG cars. So if you can put up with the occasional maintenance issue and you're okay with the gas mileage, and you can find a manual transmission, well, I highly recommend picking one of these up because it is a joy to drive. The suspension is unbelievably tight. The motor sounds amazing. Of course, this one's been augmented with a modified exhaust. When you're just driving this car down the road in its stock setting, it's in 400 horsepower mode. You have access to 400 horses, you can drive the car comfortably, but if you hit this button, this M button, the car gives you all 500 horses. It also turns on the electronic seat bolsters, which hug you from side to side based upon what direction you're traveling in. So if you're in a corner going left, the right seat bolster will pump itself up and push you over to the left to hold you in a position. It's a really strange sensation, but it's also really cool. Also, you can select how soft or how hard you want the suspension to be. Right now it's in kind of the firm, aggressive mode, but if you don't want to feel any bumps, hit a couple of buttons and you'll be in this nice, comfortable sedan mode so you can drive your kids to school. There's also a button called MDM, which is M dynamic mode, and if you hit that, it gives you a setting that's in between the traction control being on and the traction control being off. So it'll let you get a little bit of wheel spin, but it will keep you from killing yourself, which is a really nice feature that BMW put into this car. It lets you have your fun, but it also keeps you nice and safe. Thank you so much for joining me today. I hope you enjoyed watching this video as much as I enjoyed making it. Please like and subscribe. And as always, if you have an exotic or interesting automobile that you'd like me to test drive, please reach out to me at wattoauto@gmail.com.